So, in English also, right? So, a quick intro. So, I'm Ricardo. I have an agency specialized in Drupal. I built it for more than 10 years now. So, and this is kind of my experience of getting leads or selling Drupal across the years that I made. Before I had the company, I was a freelancer, so you'll see also the experience from the freelancer perspective. So there will be no absolute truth. This is just my opinion. So yeah, take it with a pinch of salt, obviously. So last year I was here doing a presentation about the future of Drupal, and one thing that I mentioned is that for Drupal to thrive, we need to have people making money with Drupal. Those companies and developers, site builders, whatever, if we are not able to do a living with Drupal, people will do other things, right? So it's not money, it's not a dirty word, it's a necessity for all of us to live. So, and here, usually we think selling Drupal to buyers, people signing the checks and so on, and this is not only about that. This is about selling Drupal to our developers. When we are hiring, we need to convince them that Drupal is something that will be useful to them. And if we are a client, people working every day on our platforms will need to be convinced that Drupal is the right thing for them. So we need to sell a more generic sell to a lot of people. And this is more about selling to the different stakeholders. The first stakeholder that we kind of have is the more traditional one is the buyers, the people, like the CTO of the company or the marketing manager or whatever that will try to sell something, right? And for them, there are several things that are important and that Drupal shines kind of. One is the flexibility, and that's part of our pitch when we do those kind of stuff. Like Drupal is very flexible. You'll have a huge library of modules and so on, and you can do a lot internally with your team. And we saw today people that started like a month ago or something and are already doing things with Drupal. So Drupal is not easy, but it's doable and it's pretty flexible. That when you start to climb the knowledge ladder, you'll be able to do a lot of things, impressive things, right? And as a developer, that's a good thing. And for our organization to be able to have someone on their team that are able to do complex stuff, it's great. So this is an argument that is important for the clients, the flexibility and ownership, because you are building things that you own, and you won't have the problem that like sometimes we do some software as a service that, okay, now the price doubles. Now you need to pay more. And we had that experience with Audio, a framework. They kept increasing the price every year, like double the price every time. And this is something that you won't have. And I think that's something good, the stability of having something that you can build on top, and you don't need to scrap it because the vendor went away or bankrupt or whatever. So having the ownership, the flexibility to be able to build on top and to keep evolving with a lot of stuff that is already available, that's kind of the main selling argument to selling Drupal to organizations. So, and it's also, Drupal has been around for 20 years plus, right? So a lot, it's not something new and shiny that people are starting using now. It's being better proofed for years now. For big organizations are using Drupal, and when we present, we'll say, okay, you might think Drupal is outdated, but in the reality is that it's being used for the biggest organizations across the world, and it's not by accident. It's because it managed to deliver the value to those organizations. And this is kind of the pitch for the buyers, like the CTOs or CMOs or whatever, or the people buying things. It's kind of, and this is actually the most common argument for selling Drupal. It's like the flexibility, the robustness, the safety, and all of this stuff. So this is the more classic approach. But then we'll need to sell this also to the site builders. Site builders are usually people that don't have a technical background, but are curious enough to start learning and building stuff. And sometimes they do the biggest part, the biggest chunk of the website. They probably not the theme and so on, but they create the content types and they create the web forms and so on. And sometimes they even do the theme part and so on. It depends on the people, right? But I think that there's a lot that you can do if you are a site builder. There's a lot of things that you can do by your own that will probably impress things. And Dre's presentation was about that. And I think the path for Drupal is also to give more power to site builders, more power to do impressive stuff by their own, right? And I think one argument to site builders, and sometimes this is kind of frustrating, and I heard Antonio's presentation before about struggling to find a solution for something that should be simple. And this is something I think that we all experience in Drupal, because sometimes, why? This should be like 5 minutes. Why am I spending the whole day doing this? And I think but I think the good part is that you are struggling, but you are learning, and the knowledge that you are getting, you can take with you. And even if you change from Drupal to elsewhere, because I do mostly Drupal, but I also work with other tools, and the knowledge that I have in Drupal helps me doing other things. Like I know some DevOps that is useful, I know backend, I know frontend, and all this stuff that you get to learn, and even about thinking about, if you think about content types and views, you're basically thinking about databases, structures, and queries. So you are in kind of getting an intro. I think in Drupal as a gateway drag to programming, because you start doing dragging and drop things, and then you are already doing code or whatever. So it's kind of, I think it's important to let people that are working with Drupal know that it's not easy, but there's a reward for your effort if you thrive with it. And I think that even if you don't want to go the full path to become a developer, you'll be able to do a lot. And for organizations, if you have like site builders or people that know some backend and site building, you'll be able to have a lot of people doing a lot of really cool stuff, and it's kind of rewarding for them as well. So I think, okay. So for developers, I think the argument sometimes is a little more challenging. When we hire, we don't find a lot of Drupal talent. It's like a scarce resource. So even for front-end, the usual people know about React or front-end technologies and not Twig usually. And some developers need some convincing, and obviously, because if you're investing your time, your life, or your career path doing Drupal, it has to work, because life is like a game that you have a set number of moves to do, and you want to do the right moves and to invest correctly your time in this, right? And I think that Drupal obviously won't go away in the next few days. I think if you become a good Drupal developer, you'll have good opportunities to have a very decent living, and you don't need to only do Drupal, right? Because I also do React or React Native or whatever, and you can learn other things and mix it together. You can have a backend with Drupal and have games in a front end like with Vue or React playing on it. So you can plug things around, you can mix, and every time that you learn a new technology, you'll get it. It makes you a better developer, and even a better Drupal developer, because you think in a more broader way about your problems, and I think it's very useful. I understand that most of the developers that start learning Drupal kind of dread working with it, but I think it's not an obsolete, and I think the same argument can be made about PHP. But PHP, Symfony, Laravel, and so on are still thriving, and it's not an obsolete technology by any means. So I think that when we try to talk, when we try to onboard developers to do Drupal, is try to pass that message that you'll be able to get good skills out of it, and if you are really good, even if you leave our company, you'll be able to find opportunities. So you'll be good. No, moving on. So this is kind of the different arguments about the three targets kind of that we want to sell. Now let's start more about the selling. If you have a company, small or large, or if you are trying to sell Drupal, there are usually two different approaches: outbound and inbound. Like outbound, basically, it's trying to get to the clients. You are trying to reach them and try to make them work with you and so on. So this is kind of all the process that Dominic mentioned about the Motic and so on to get the leads and target the leads and so on. So this is actually Motic is kind of both inbound and outbound, because you do the like inbound is like you do articles and so on, and if people get interested on your articles, you click and you'll be able to qualify that lead and then maybe reach them. So, but let's go back. So the first one, the outbound, it's very tough. We did that in the past, and sometimes we do, but not that often. It's really tough, and you spend a lot of time doing that, because you need to find possible targets, leads, usually called, or potential clients, and you need to reach them. And I think the most important thing is to do a proper research before doing it. I see a lot of people trying to reach people and spamming them and so on, try to get them to buy, and you are burning your company, your reputation doing that. It's useless. I think you need to get to know the people that you are reaching. If you have like a bridge, someone that you know in common, try to use it. Try to reach them and do you think this is useful to him? Can we talk? Can you make a presentation? I think that will convert better. Another way is to use tenders and public contracts, but that also takes a lot of time, because there are a lot of bureaucratic steps that you need to do. You need to do a proposal. Sometimes the tender asks you, I want a platform, and there is a single line that you need to expand into infinity. And so this is overall, outbound is really hard. You need to try to get the client, go and get the client. The other approach is the inbound. The inbound is more sustainable. It also takes time, because it's basically creating content. For example, try to create a blog article or a podcast or make a presentation like I'm doing. So it's basically if you share knowledge, or if you share work. For example, I have some modules available in Drupal. If you share your work, people will probably find it and might think about you in the next time they need something. So, or they may, I don't know, think about you later. So I think this is kind of lay the ground, like seed something, and eventually you'll collect the fruits from that. In our experience, inbound works better than outbound. Outbound is again very hard. But in our experience, the best way it's neither, because the outbound you spend a lot of time trying to convert someone to work with you. the inbound, you'll spend a lot of time, but you are targeting a lot of people, and they may come to you. Usually, the price per conversion, the price, the effort that you make to convert someone, it's lower in the inbound than the outbound. But the best case scenario is the clients that you have, because the cost of acquisition or the price that you need to pay when you get the client, it's not insignificant. And if you have a current client, that's what you would need to strive, because if you are good at your job, and if you are friendly with them, and if you work as a partner with them, they'll probably, when they need another project, they'll reach you. And I think we have most of our clients, even and we are discussing. It's not even a project; it's just an idea. And they call us and okay, yeah, let's exchange the ideas. There's no commitment there, but that approach of I have something, a wild idea. Let me call Ricardo or something to discuss. That's the best I can have, because and in our experience, this is most of our clients are our clients there for years, for several years, and we love that, because I think getting a new client is getting a new relationship, and there's an effort to do that. Obviously, there are always clients that for some reason disappear or whatever, but you need to have also new clients. But if you can get clients to love your work, they'll do it. They will do recurrent work, but also they'll give reference to others. And the word of mouth referencing is the best you can have, because someone is vouching for you. So this is, I think, the best case scenario. So, and what about if you are a freelancer or a small team? Does this apply, this kind of stuff? Yes, and there's no recipe that people, as I mentioned, I was a freelancer before having my own company, and it's not very easy to start when you don't know a lot still, and you don't have a network of existing clients or whatever, and sometimes it's hard. And I think one approach that I started at using small tests, and the small tests that I support LPS kind of that gave me access to the award. So, and that's a possible strategy. I'm not telling anyone to do a specific thing, but sometimes picking tests that are not, when you are not that experienced, picking small tests can lead to something bigger. So that's a possible approach. Obviously, being a freelancer, you are yes, exactly. So there's less security and so on. So you need to trade. You may get a better hourly rate, but you need to be aware that some months you won't have any work or very little work, and there's the balance between your work and your personal life that you need to balance, right? So there's that. But besides that, I think one possible approach is also to partner with agencies, and that works well for us, and it still works. We work with agencies in the US and in remaining Europe and so on, and they know that can count on us. It depends. Sometimes we get several requests per week. Some weeks we don't. It doesn't matter, but they know that they can rely on us, and obviously we charge for that. And I think it can be a possible way, and it worked well so far for us. So it's an idea. And yes, and about other things. So as I mentioned, you don't need to only do Drupal, and I think that's one thing that we started only. Actually, we started with WordPress and Joomla a long time ago, and we got rid of it because Joomla and Drupal, Joomla and WordPress. Right now, we are doing React, we are doing React Native, we are doing several stuff also, and I think that helps us. And I think Drupal is not always the best tool for all tests. yeah, why not? If they need a single page application, you don't need Drupal. If you probably will do just fine with HTML and CSS or JavaScript. So why, right? I think the why is very important, and I think if you have more skill sets, I think it's great for you. But obviously, sometimes the clients don't really care about what's the technology, and especially in recurrent relationships, like a client that works for years, and sometimes they say, oh, I need a platform that does X and Y, and I don't care if it's Drupal or whatever. I just need it to work, right? And that's, yeah, understandable. If they trust in your judgment, it's okay, and you can choose. So maybe you can convert some people to Drupal if it makes sense. If not, you'll use something else that is better for your client, because obviously if your client is happy and if people working for your client are shining internally because of the things that you are building, they'll come back and you'll get more business, and I think that's the most sustainable way to keep getting money with Drupal. So, and yeah, that's it. I think I covered everything. Questions? Yeah.
I've been in Portugal for 2 years now. I run a small web development company. I founded in 1995 in the before Google went online, and we're still at 6 people. So I have training as an architect. I didn't like the situation that I did, but I'm not a salesperson. However, I have been the one to bring in all the work for the last 20 years. And the thing that got me started was what's called a business suite group. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's a group of people who are limited. Not a single session cannot be. There's a group of about 20 people, and they're generally business people. Unfortunately, keep it small and business. But if you're starting out, if there are groups like this, it's a good way to exchange business or especially needs. And it's always easier. And that's what started companies. I project companies, and I joined another one, and another one. And now I don't do that anymore. I network with an association, which is another good idea. Join an association in a specific industry that you would want to service, and then go and meet people and become super active, joining committees, eventually get yourself on the board of directors. You'll gradually you'll have a bunch of friends, and they will refer you.
Yeah.
And I've networked with people.
I think I remember 2005, but I forgot to mention that focus and network is very important. And, I think that most of the value that we have in this kind of events, how we have and so on, it's not only sharing knowledge, but also getting to know people. And, and for both, you can, like, someone can buy from me, but I can help someone or mentor something. So I think that's the best of this kind of event. And yeah, but also or yeah, that helps. Yeah.
And just to get out there,
Yeah.
and especially effective in larger urban areas, where there are more headquarters of larger companies.
It's all about trust. If you can see it,
It's all about trust. If people trust you, even if you don't know what you're doing. They should, but they will.
Any other questions?
Historically, one of the best selling points for people was always how easy it was to create technical sites for people without any skills to create sites with Drupal. Historically, we lost that. I think from that market became more competitive, and still more competitive these days. Do you think something like Starshot will still get us a shot to hit that market again?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think Drupal changed the positioning across the years, and I think it was something that you do everything yourself as a curious person and so on, and then it became, oh, this is like a enterprise solution that you need to have a department to build, and now we are moving again to, yeah, think the main argument right now when we tell we need to set expectations. Like this is not something that that someone that is never worked with web will be able to support on his own, right? So, but we are here to help, and I think right now our shop might help site builders, we power site builders, but I don't think that the people getting into web development they will find it as easy as a week for a software as a service. And I mentioned there's a lot of drawbacks. You are getting stuck on those platforms and so on. And I think that the main argument for when I sell is more like this is yours. This is something you can build on. This is very powerful and this is used by major organizations. So maybe you for now you have a bug when you need the bug, but if you have more people, you have the bug. So yeah.
My company's developed a it leverages paragraphs. The paragraphs module and a lot of other things. A lot of JSON. I'm not a programmer, so we started the development about 5 years ago and evolved. Now we're adding a layer where a person generates a visual thing that's based off view data, and then they are able to then visually manipulate it and adjust it and replicate it anywhere on the site. And that, my hope with that is to enable more Drupal developers to create sites that are truly easy.
One of the things that was presented by Chris was the Experience Builder. It's the new, it will kind of merge layout builder with paragraphs and so on and create something new. And the demos are really nice, and I think it's promising, and I think that will probably help more in selling Drupal to people that are not comfortable, because you'll be able to drag and drop and create your layout. It will try to have like something that people can style and do everything. Like people without a lot of knowledge can be able to do all. And I think that's very interesting. But in terms of one of the constraints in Drupal is like the hosting and all the infrastructure charges. People starting with Drupal, if you want just a blog and you have like the landscape, you need a server, a database, and so on. And people that don't know web development is kind of probably the area, and there's a few projects to try to build around it. And one is by NetLam. They are installing Drupal in your browser. Using web workers, everything is working on your browser. Yeah, it's really nice. I think if you use WebAssembly, and I think it's a nice demo. Obviously, it's good as something that you can try immediately. But obviously, then if you want to take that into something, you can maybe find a solution to carry out somewhere else. But software as a service, you don't have that barrier of technology. And it's quite a database, lots of database, database. And I think there were solutions before, like the Drupal garden that was kind of hosting and so on. And I think it didn't stick. I'm not sure the space there is. I think hopefully solutions like you mentioned of having a best editorial experience will be obviously good, but I'm not sure if we'll get a week's or Squarespace experience in there.
I think the goal is not to beat Squarespace, because that's possible, but to provide people who are willing to put a little bit of effort in to have very powerful sites that you much more.
Yeah, it's a different position. Yeah.
It's a different market, but it's a slice, but I think it's still really open for people. There's some great modules to build on. We've been working trying to integrate with wonderful layout builders, and we decided to walk away from that very actually work better.
one that they're working.
Yeah, so I was really using core, and they are focusing the other projects on storage fuel and the future. So yes, that is part of what medical real, I think it's very nice. One is internet as software, and medical that is also very nice. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening, and hopefully it will help people across there. Yeah. Any other questions?